Have you ever wondered how far your instincts could take you in a life-threatening situation? Imagine, if you will, a lone explorer. Not in the confines of a bustling city or the comfort of a familiar neighborhood, but in the heart of the wilderness, miles upon miles of untamed nature, where the only sounds are those of the wind passing through the trees, the rustling of leaves underfoot, and the occasional distant call of an unseen animal. This is not a weekend camping trip. This is the raw, uncharted territory. Our protagonist is not a seasoned survivalist, but an ordinary individual like you or me. Suddenly they find themselves lost. No compass, no map, no trail markers. All the tools and gadgets that we take for granted in our daily lives gone. The reassuring touch of a smartphone with its GPS and emergency calls is but a distant memory. The weight of this realization settles in, an unwelcome guest in the pit of their stomach. Fear, that primal instinct, rears its head. It's a chilling reminder of our vulnerability when stripped of modern conveniences. But this fear is also accompanied by a spark of determination. The human will to survive is as old as time itself, and it's this will that pushes our hiker forward. They know they must stay calm, think logically, and harness their primal instincts. Every decision becomes a matter of life or death. Which way to go? What to eat and drink? How to protect themselves from the elements and potential predators? These questions are no longer theoretical. They are immediate, pressing, and carry the weight of their survival. As the sunlight begins to wane, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, the temperature drops. The night brings with it a whole new set of challenges. The wilderness, already a formidable adversary, now cloaked in darkness, becomes even more daunting. The hiker is left with their thoughts and the cold reality of their situation. And so, as the darkness began to fall, the hiker realized that a battle for survival had just begun. The wilderness can be a merciless arena, especially when you are unprepared. As the sun set on our hiker's first day in the wilderness, the reality of his situation began to sink in. No cozy bed to fall into, no warm dinner waiting at home. His world had become a harsh landscape of uncertainty. His only companions, the whispers of the wild and the creeping fear of the unknown. His first challenge, to find shelter. He scoured the land, his eyes scanning for a safe haven amidst the unforgiving wilderness. A fallen tree offered a semblance of protection against the elements. He dug into the ground with bare hands, stacking leaves and branches to fashion a makeshift bed. His hands were raw and blistered, but he was driven by an instinct stronger than pain: survival. The night was cold, colder than he had ever known. He huddled in his makeshift shelter, his body shivering against the chill. His mind was filled with the sounds of the wild. The rustling of leaves, the distant howl of a wolf, the hoot of an owl. Each noise seemed to echo his vulnerability, amplifying his fears. But amidst the fear and uncertainty, a spark ignited within him. He gathered stones, twigs, and dry leaves, his hands trembling as he struck his last match. The tiny flame flickered, teetered on the edge of oblivion, then roared to life. The fire was more than warmth against the cold. It was a beacon of hope in the darkness, a testament to his resourcefulness and determination. As he huddled close to the fire, he found himself in a battle not just with the elements, but with his own mind. Fear and doubts crept in, whispering of the dangers that lay ahead, but he pushed them away, focusing instead on the flickering flame, the symbol of his resolve. As the first rays of sun pierced the darkness, the hiker was still alive, but the real test was yet to come. The wilderness had tested him, pushed him to his limits, but he had survived his first night. He was down, but not out. The fight for survival was far from over. Imagine the fear of not knowing where your next meal would come from, or if it would come at all. A chilling prospect, isn't it? Our hiker, isolated in the wilderness, found himself in this exact predicament. With every sunrise, the pressing need to find sustenance grew stronger. The search for food and water became a daily trial of will and perseverance. Each step, each breath was a testament to the primal instinct of survival. There were moments of trial and error, of course. Not every berry or mushroom found in the wilderness is safe to eat. Some were bitter reminders of nature's harsh realities, causing bouts of sickness that further drained the hiker's strength and morale. But with each error came learning as he slowly began to decipher the language of the wilderness. The hiker's search for water was no less challenging. Clean, drinkable water is not as readily available in the wild as one might think. But patience and observation led him to hidden streams and morning dew collected on leaves, small victories that quenched his thirst and fueled his determination. However, the physical challenges were only half the battle. The solitude and relentless uncertainty took a psychological toll. There were moments of despair, yes, but also moments of profound introspection. The hiker found strength in the silence, in the knowledge that he was becoming more attuned to the rhythms of the wilderness. He was learning to read the signs, to respect the rules of this vast, untamed world. But with each passing day, the hiker was becoming a part of the wilderness, his senses sharpening, his instincts honing. He was adapting, enduring, surviving, yet survival was not guaranteed. With every nightfall, the uncertainty loomed larger. Would he find enough food and water the next day? Would he find his way out or become a permanent resident of the wilderness? With each passing day, the hiker was becoming a part of the wilderness, but survival was still uncertain. Sometimes the most dangerous elements are not the ones you can see. You see, it's a common misconception that the greatest threats in the wilderness are the towering cliffs, the treacherous rapids, or the biting cold. But sometimes the most menacing dangers are the ones that lurk in the shadows, unseen and unheard until they're right on your heels. Let's dive into the next chapter of our gripping tale. Our protagonist, a seasoned hiker, was about to come face to face with one such danger, a wild and unpredictable beast. As he was navigating through the dense undergrowth, a rustle behind him turned his blood cold. He turned around, and staring back at him were the piercing eyes of a wild beast. This was not a part of the wilderness he had prepared for. With his heart pounding in his chest, he did the only thing he could. He ran. But the beast was faster, stronger, and it was gaining on him. It was a chase for life, a dance with death. His every step felt like a leap of faith, his every breath a plea for survival. But the wilderness is unforgiving. In his haste, he tripped over the gnarled roots of an ancient tree, and his world turned into a whirl of pain. He could feel the sharp sting of his wounds, the warm trickle of blood, but there was no time to pause, no time to heal. With an adrenaline-fueled surge of strength, he pulled himself up and continued his desperate sprint. And then, as if guided by some divine intervention, he stumbled upon a narrow crevice in a rocky outcrop. Without a second thought, he squeezed himself into the tight space. The beast, too large to follow, could only snarl and growl in frustration. It was a close shave, a brush with death that left him with a grim reminder in the form of painful injuries. Injured, exhausted, but not defeated, the hiker was now facing a new challenge. As the adrenaline wore off and the reality of his situation set in, he realized that surviving the beast was only the beginning. The real battle had just begun. When your life is at stake, giving up is not an option. These words echoed in the hiker's mind as he found himself at the precipice of what would be his final stand. He was a lone figure against the vast wilderness that he had been battling against for days. Our hiker, fueled by a relentless will to live, found an untapped reservoir of strength within him. Every ounce of energy was now devoted to one singular goal: survival. He pushed through the pain, the fatigue, and the overwhelming odds. He refused to be another casualty, another anonymous face swallowed by the wilderness. Our hiker's journey back to civilization was no less grueling than his fight for survival. He navigated treacherous terrains, braved unpredictable weather, and fought off the creeping despair that threatened to consume him. Yet, even as his body screamed for relief, his spirit remained unbroken. He had come too far, endured too much to simply give up now. The moment of rescue, when it came, was almost surreal. The sight of another human being, the sound of a voice that wasn't his own, echoing in his ears, it was a sensory overload. For a moment he could only stand there, staring at the rescue party, as if trying to convince himself that this was not another cruel trick of his exhausted mind. But it wasn't. He had made it. Against all odds, he had managed to survive the wilderness and make his way back to civilization. He was finally safe. Our hiker's story is one of resilience, of the indomitable human spirit that refuses to bow down even in the face of insurmountable odds. It is a testament to the will to live that burns within each of us, a beacon of hope that shines brightest in our darkest hours. Against all odds, the hiker had survived, but more than that, he had discovered an indomitable spirit within himself. Have you ever received an invitation to something you wish you hadn't? A call to an event that seemed innocuous at first, but upon a second glance sent chills down your spine? This is where our story begins. Imagine a day as ordinary as any other. The sun is shining and life is humming along in its usual uneventful rhythm. Our main character, let's call him John, is scrolling through Reddit, his go-to hub for all things interesting and bizarre on the internet. He's a regular on the platform, known for his quick wit and sharp insights. On this particular day, nestled between the usual memes, news articles, and heated discussions, something catches his eye. An invitation, but not just to any subreddit. This one has a name that makes his heart skip a beat, a name too chilling, too inexplicable to utter out loud, a name that stirs up a whirlwind of confusion and curiosity in his mind. John stares at his screen, the eerie glow illuminating his face in the dim room. He's seen his fair share of the internet's oddities, yet nothing quite like this. His mind buzzes with questions. Is this a joke, a prank perhaps, or could it be something far more sinister? The invitation sits there, a digital Pandora's box, waiting to be opened. The unsettling subreddit name echoes in his mind, a haunting melody that fills him with an irresistible urge to know more. His finger hovers over the accept button, a gateway to the unknown. The allure of the mystery is too strong, the pull of the enigma too enchanting. Fear wrestles with curiosity, a clash of emotions that leaves him on the edge of his seat, and so, driven by curiosity, our protagonist clicked accept. Little did he know he was about to embark on a journey that would twist the very fabric of his reality, a journey that would take him into the darkest corners of the internet and his own mind. But that, dear listeners, is a tale for the next scene. Imagine walking into a room and finding it filled with your darkest fears. A room not of brick and mortar, but of bits and bytes, a digital space called a subreddit. As our main character plunges into this online abyss, they find it brimming with the unsavory, the unsettling, the downright horrific. Every post, every comment, a chilling echo of their own life, stories that seem eerily familiar, tales that resonate on a deeply personal level. It's as if they've stumbled upon a twisted reflection of their own existence, distorted and displayed for anonymous spectators. The threads are filled with details, intimate snippets of information that should only exist within the confines of their own mind. A post about a childhood fear of clowns that has never been shared. A comment revealing the secret location where they had their first kiss. A thread discussing their irrational fear of spiders. Every click, every scroll, every new revelation amplifies the growing terror. The realization slowly dawns on them. All these posts, all these comments, they're all about them. The digital walls seem to close in as the character's heart pounds in their chest, their breath hitching in their throat. The fear is no longer confined to the screen. It seeps into their reality, wrapping its cold fingers around their thoughts, their actions, their sanity. Paranoia sets in. Their every move feels watched, every thought feels intercepted. The line between the virtual and the real blurs, the horror of the subreddit seeping into the tangible world. The fear is palpable, the terror real. The subreddit, a supposed haven for shared interests and community, has morphed into a digital nightmare. It's a horror show starring them, their life laid bare for the world to see, their secrets no longer their own. Our protagonist was trapped in a digital hall of mirrors, each reflection more terrifying than the last. Each post, each comment, a haunting reminder of the unescapable horror that their life has become. The subreddit, their own personal Pandora's box, now open and unleashing its horrors. What if someone, somewhere, was watching your every move? Imagine a presence lurking in the shadows, tracking your daily routine and recording your deepest secrets. That's exactly what our character found themselves up against. With each passing day, the posts on the subreddit grew more invasive. They weren't just vague predictions anymore, they were explicit revelations, intimate details that only the character themselves should know. The stalker seemed to be everywhere and nowhere all at once. In the virtual world of Reddit, anonymity was both a shield and a weapon. The posts began to predict not just the character's past, but also their future. They detailed actions the character hadn't yet taken, paths they hadn't yet walked. It was as if the stalker was not just observing, but orchestrating the character's life. The character was a puppet, and the unseen stalker, the puppet master. As you can imagine, the fear was palpable. It seeped into every corner of the character's life, tainting their every waking moment. They began to question everything, their actions, their decisions, and even their sanity. They felt hunted, trapped in their own life. Every click, every post, every comment, it all felt like a trap, a web woven by the unseen stalker. A sense of impending danger hung in the air, thick and suffocating. The character's heart pounded in their chest like a relentless drum, a constant reminder of the unseen stalker's presence. They jumped at every shadow, every unexpected noise. Paranoia became their constant companion, fear their only friend. Desperation started to set in. The character tried everything, changing their online habits, erasing their digital footprint, even seeking help from the authorities, but the stalker was always one step ahead, always watching, always waiting. The character felt like a mouse in a maze, running in circles, with the unseen stalker as the cat, toying with its prey. The unseen stalker was closing in, and escape seemed impossible. Sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we create ourselves. There's a chilling truth to that statement, isn't there? For our troubled character, the horror that had been creeping in the shadows of their digital life was not some unseen stalker lurking in the depths of a dark subreddit. No, it was something far closer to home, something far more personal. In an unexpected twist that would make even the most seasoned horror aficionados gasp, it turned out our protagonist had been the author of their own terror. They had been sleep posting on the subreddit, their subconscious mind spilling out secrets and fears into the open web. Imagine the shock, the disbelief that washed over them as they realized they were the architect of their own nightmare. But there was relief too, a strange, cold comfort in knowing that the threat wasn't some external evil, but rather an internal struggle. Yet, this revelation brought with it a new kind of fear, a gnawing uncertainty. How could they trust themselves when their own mind had turned against them? How could they continue to navigate the digital world, knowing the potential for self-sabotage that lurked within them? This tale is not just a spine-chilling horror story, it's a stark exploration of the double-edged sword that is technology in the modern age. On one hand, it's a tool that connects us, brings us together, and opens up a world of information. On the other, it can become a weapon, a means of self-destruction, when wielded unconsciously. It's a reminder that we are our own worst enemies sometimes, that the most terrifying monsters are not always the ones hiding in dark corners, but those that reside within us. It's a testament to the power and the danger of the human mind, and the lengths it can go to, even when we're not fully aware of it. In the end, the monster wasn't under the bed or in the closet, it was in the mirror. A chilling thought, isn't it? But perhaps it's one we all need to confront every now and then. When the monster is you, how do you fight back? A question that our protagonist grappled with as they stood on the precipice of their own fears, their own insecurities. But it wasn't a fight they had to face alone. Recognizing the need for help is often the hardest step, yet it was one they bravely took. They sought professional guidance, reached out to friends, and began the uphill climb towards recovery. It was a journey marked by setbacks and small victories, tears and laughter, despair and hope. As they navigated this path, they learned that the most terrifying monsters aren't those who lurk in the shadows of a dark subreddit, but those that dwell within our own minds. They learned that the true horror story wasn't the unseen stalker, but the unchecked anxiety and paranoia that had taken hold of their life. With each passing day, they grew stronger, more resilient. They learned to separate the noise of the online world from the reality of their offline life. They learned to set boundaries, to protect their mental space, to discern between legitimate concerns and unfounded fears. They discovered that resilience wasn't about never falling, but about getting up each time they fell. They found strength in vulnerability, courage in admitting their fears. They found that they were not defined by their struggles, but by their ability to overcome them. And as they journeyed from the depths of their own personal horror story, they emerged as a beacon of hope for others. They shared their experience, their journey, their lessons. They turned their story from a chilling tale of fear into a cautionary tale about mental health, about the importance of online safety, about the power of resilience. And so our protagonist emerged from the darkness a little wiser, a little stronger, and ready to face whatever came next. They showed us that the real monsters can be vanquished, not by hiding from them, but by facing them head on, by acknowledging them, by seeking help, and by never, ever giving up.